What's up, y'all? Just wanted to have a quick conversation about um, why I'm a pro purchase kind of guy, right? Why I'm Mr. Home Ownership Advocate, right? And I get it. Everybody does not want to be a homeowner. I had an opportunity. I could have been a homeowner way earlier. When I was offered my first mortgage before the market crashed at 20 years old. I could have bought a house for somewhere between $300,000 to $400,000, and I didn't want to do it. Like my mom was pissed. God bless the dead. She was irate with me that I turned down this mortgage. I didn't want that responsibility. I just wanted to rent some apartment with my girl at the time, and so on and so forth, right? And I can see the flaw in that decision now. Here's what I'll tell you. To me, the benefit of real estate is we have to set ourselves up going forward for a means of, if things go left, right, or tough times happen like a pandemic, etc., how can we plan for our families to be taken care of in the future? And let me give an example. I did this before, but I think it's time for an update to the conversation. My mom loved jewelry. And when I say jewelry, like my mom's, always made sure that if she could buy something, it was, 100% gold, nothing gold plated. You know what I mean? Every now and then she would try to save up and maybe buy herself a little tennis bracelet or whatever. But the reason why she purchased jewelry is because, yeah, she liked how it looked, but she also knew that, God forbid, because we weren't wealthy, if money got tight or whatever the case may be, she could go to a pawn shop and pawn that jewelry and get our hands on some money and get us through a rough patch. And then maybe when some overtime hours or something like that picked up on her job, she could go back and get it. Or sometimes she sold it and waited to the future when she maybe made some more money again and got jewelry again, right? But in her mind, it was her small, impractical thought of an investment. Like, let me buy something tangible that looks good, that holds value. And if something gets tough and I need to be able to get groceries or do etc., I can use said jewelry to pawn it and make money back. I see real estate the same way, right? If I'm renting a property during a pandemic, like many people were, and something drastically happens to my income and I can't keep that house anymore, right? I'm done. Like, the landlord gets his property back, or whatever the case may be. He might even get some COVID funding to make up for the rent I didn't pay. He gets to rent that property to somewhere else. I ain't got nowhere to live. And maybe if I'm lucky enough to have a family member that has space for me to move in or something like that, I can do that. If not, like many folks, you end up in a shelter. Whereas in that same scenario, as a homeowner, at the end of the day, you paying money into this asset and building equity, right? And then, God forbid, if something happens like a pandemic or something that affects your situation, at any point in time, you can say, you know what? The biggest asset I got is this house. I'm gonna sell it. So let me go rent myself a little apartment or whatever the case may be. I'll put my house on the market. I'll sell it. I'll take whatever profit or equity I can get out of it, and I'll use that money to get me back on my feet. Or even if I can't afford to get an apartment at that time, maybe I'm going back to a family member's house to live. If I sell this property, number one, I'm gonna preserve my credit. So before they could foreclose on the home, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to take the profit myself. That's number one. Number two, it's going to allow me to be able to sell the property, and the profits that I take now, I can use that when I go back to my mom's house, my aunt's house, or wherever I'm staying at that time for certain folks. I can use that as the money to springboard me in my new journey, right? So it's a long-term play. I'm not judging anybody because, as I told y'all, I had an opportunity. That house if I would have bought that house when I had the opportunity to buy that house, based off of what my income was, I would have been 20 years into my mortgage at this point, and that house would have been pretty much paid off. Because with the amount of money I've made over the last, say, 20 years, I would have been able to pay that house off by now. Right? So I'm not judging anybody. I completely see the logic in not wanting that expense, but I'm trying to just educate you and show you how to have a long-term vision at looking at some of this stuff. All right? Y'all be blessed.